will be, and where different warm and cold air masses will be. It's harder than you'd think if you want to predict really accurately. I have made an effort to make accurate, precise predictions, but like I said, things will change. I don't know how much they will change, but the weather patterns are changing and fluctuating as we speak. All we can do is make our best predictions. Alright, now to the forecast. As summer's nearing an end, you are probably looking forward to the trees changing. This forecast is for the East Coast and Midwest only. Unfortunately, the trees will be peaking a little late this year because for those of you who are looking forward to fall. But the summer overall wasn't that bad, so why are the trees changing late? The positive NAO is guilty of this. What happened was, as I said earlier, the NAO was slightly negative until mid-August, when it suddenly jumped up and became very positive. As a result, a major warm spell occurred and has only very recently come to an end. That summer-like weather confused the trees, so they're going to take a bit longer than usual, possibly 10 days longer than usual in some areas. However, the NAO has just gone negative again, so I don't think that we should be seeing any more of summer. I'm sure that you're all curious about what your fall will be like weather-wise, so this next map is for the entire nation. Here's my temperature outlook for the entire fall. As you can see, the far northwest is going to be cold throughout the entire fall. When the NAO is positive, the jet stream goes north and the east, which allows cold air to build up at the west, forming a trough in the jet stream out there. As fall wears on, I'm expecting the NAO to go negative quite slowly, and even into winter, I'm not expecting that it will go very negative, so I believe that the jet stream will be south of the far north, that the jet stream will still be far south of the far northwest at the end of fall. As for the northern Great Plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, I'm expecting the early fall will be warmer than average. Because there's going to be a ridge in the jet stream because of the positive NAO. But as fall wears on, I'm expecting a lot of flip-flop temperatures, but then it will end cold overall. In fact, I'm expecting early frost and snowfall in that region. In fact, there's already been frost reported in parts of the Great Lakes region and parts of the Northeast. And for some areas, it looks like snow is not too far away. So there will be a few warm spells, however, because weather patterns never stay still. So the jet stream will go north at times, and that will result in a warm spell. However, I'm expecting them to get less and less frequent as fall wears on. The Northwest, Northern Rockies, Mid-Great Plains, Middle Great Plains, part of the Ohio River Valley, and the Northern Southeast will all start out warm. But by the end, overall, it will be slightly cooler than average. There will be frequent warm spells, however, so that's why I'm not predicting they'll be cold by the end. I'm expecting at the central west coast, northern and middle Rockies, middle and southern Great Plains, southern Appalachians, and the majority of the southeast to start fall warm. But then it will be about average overall. Perhaps still a little warmer than average in the southern part of the region. But I'm not expecting temperatures to remain flat. I think that there will be a lot of flip-flop temperatures. I'm expecting there to be a warm spell in this region, and then average, and then a cold spell, then back warm, and so forth. The reason for this is because this region is going to be where the jet stream is around most of the time. So it will be below it about half the time and above it half the time. Well, I think I may have actually shaded it too far south. I think the line's going to be right about here. I think that the Southwest and Southern Rockies are going to have a cool start to fall because of the positive NAO, but then the temperatures should rise above average as the NAO gets negative again. However, there could be a cold spell here and there depending on what the weather patterns are. The southern plains and the deep south should remain warmer than normal throughout the fall, because even when the NAO gets negative, and all of the other weather patterns set themselves up the way I'm expecting them to, the jet stream isn't going to be as far south. Isn't going to go far south enough to bring cold temperatures to those areas. But like I said earlier, it all depends on where the jet stream is. If it goes far south enough at some point during this fall, the deep south will get colder. Now, let's move on to winter. This is my map of where I'm expecting the jet stream to be for the majority of the winter. Now this map looks really simple, but really I ended up drawing and redrawing this map about 20 times. I also looked really carefully at the weather patterns and then tried to make a precise drawing and kept redrawing it until I was happy with it. As you can see, there is a ridge and a trough in the jet stream, but it's not very dramatic. That is because I'm not expecting the weather patterns to be abnormal enough to create a big trough and ridge in the jet stream. Now I'm going to tell you about how the temperatures should play out for this winter. As you can see, the northeastern Great Plains, the Great Lakes region, the Ohio River Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast I'm expecting to have well below average temperatures. Since this region is quite far north of where I'm expecting the jet stream to be for the majority of the time, this area should have very few warm spells during the winter. I'm expecting it to be a hard or frozen over winter. Make sure that you get your coats out for this winter for those of you in this area. It's going to be a bitterly cold one. The Northwest, Northern Great Plains, Middle Great Plains, Southern Ohio River Valley, and the Southern Mid-Atlantic I'm expecting are going to have below normal temperatures, but they won't be insanely below average. I'm expecting these areas to get more frequent warm spells, but still you're going to have a cold winter overall. For much of the country, I'm going to stay on the safe side and say that they're going to receive about average temperatures. That includes the northern and central west coast, northern and middle Rockies, central and southern Great Plains, the southern Appalachians, and the southeast and a portion of the deep south. The reason for this is not because I think the jet stream will go up and down that much, or even because I think the temperatures will actually stay like that, but because I don't know exactly how the weather patterns will play out yet, because this is a preliminary winter forecast. So basically this area I would say is a 50-50 wild card, which means that it could go either way. But to give you some information, I'm not expecting temperatures to be drastically above or below average in this area. But that's all I'm going to say for now. The majority of the southern part of the country will have above average temperatures, according to what I'm predicting the weather patterns will turn out to be. The jet stream is just going to be too far north most of the time for you to get cold temperatures. But I'm sure that it will come south a few times during the winter, bringing cooler temperatures to the south. Now, before I show you the snowfall outlook for the winter, I'd like to show you my storm track map, just to give you an idea of why I'm predicting the amount of snow for each individual area that I'm predicting. I know that this looks very overwhelming to you, but I'm going to break it down into pieces and explain each part to you. Do you see the storm track coming from the northwest and dipping down south and going up the east coast and Appalachians? That is a Pacific Northwestern storm track. This storm track is going to be almost non-existent this winter, but I do believe that will come a few times this winter. The storms following this track form on the southern coast of Alaska and then follow this track. Because the PNA is going to be positive this winter, there will be high pressure over that area most of the time, which will greatly reduce the likelihood of any storms forming over that area. So don't be surprised if you see very little or none of the storm track at all during the winter, especially for those of you who live out in the northwest. But don't worry, you folks in the northwest will still get some sea storms. Next, I'm going to talk about the subtropical storm track. The storms following the subtropical storm track is formed far out in the Pacific Ocean. I'm expecting this to be one of the most active storm tracks this winter, in fact more active than normal. When the ENSO is at El Nino or neutral phase, the storm track becomes more active. I'm expecting two possible routes for the storm track to follow. The more common route should be the one coming into Mexico, into Texas, and then through the deep south states, and then up the east coast. During neutral winters, this is the route that the storm track usually takes. However, I think that it's a possibility that the ENSO could turn into a weak El Nino as winter goes on. So if that happens, then the subtropical storm track